speech therapist was trying to sell when a realtor told her, put the Jewish books off the table. Jewish New Yorkers who've told me about their fear in living in this city, and I will be a mayor who finally addresses that, not through the theatrics of the politics on the stage, but through action. I'll do that by ensuring that we have police officers outside of
I want to get to the question.
The Jewish New Yorkers who feel for some reason Zohran being mayor is going to make them unsafe. They're not being. They're
racist.
There's no Jews who are like on the fence going like, well.
Pro-Palestinian protests, and you've suggested that Mr. Mamdani uses languages that is anti-Semitic. How do you assure New Yorkers that you'll be the mayor for all?
Oh my God, bro. Jesus Christ.
I've been there for all people in all times for 46 years as leader of the Guardian Angels here and around the world. Whether it is a religious violation of people's rights to worship as they choose in a mosque, in a church, in a synagogue, or a shul, whether it's because of racial identity. Remember, in the summer of 2020, Asians were under constant attack because of the lockdown and pandemic. I don't remember Governor Cuomo coming to their aid. You were the governor then. I was out there going into all the neighborhoods, Flushing, Bayside. We were in down in Bensonhurst. We were in Chinatown itself, where Asians were being attacked indiscriminately because they were thought to be carrying COVID. We protected them then. Governor, you were not there for them. De Blasio was not there for them. We understand hate. And in order to counteract hate, you have to get the community involved along with the police to protect people when they're under siege. Jews are under attack now more than ever before. And I don't believe either of you have the capabilities of protecting them with increased anti-Semitism.
That is pure fiction. I passed the no hate in our state, the strongest hate crime law in the United States of America. We tolerate no hatred, no discrimination. We are from every place on this globe, and
unless
we are
it's
proud
you
of
that's
it.
perpetrating
and, excuse me, and we're tolerant and we accept. If you notice, the assemblyman still won't say he believes that Israel has the right to exist as a Jewish state. He is a divisive personality all across the board. NYPD are racist. Barack Obama is evil, liar, and he gave the finger to the Christopher Columbus statue.
By the way, Cuomo, your laws with no cash bail turn the haters right back in the street to violate and attack again and again and again.
Thank you.
You're the reason for that. No cash bail.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Thank you. Go ahead.
There have been a number of absolutely unfounded lies that have been said by Andrew Cuomo. I would just like a moment to address them directly. I've said time and again that I recognize Israel's right to exist. I've said that I will not recognize any state's. I said that I will not.
As a Jewish state.
If I would be allowed to finish, that I would not recognize any state's right to exist with a system of hierarchy on the basis of race or religion. I have made that very clear. And part of that is because I'm an American who believes in the importance of equal rights being enshrined in every single country, whether we're speaking about Israel or whether we're speaking about Saudi Arabia. You can stand here and you can lie all you want, but New Yorkers know that.
You answered the question.
We want to address some issues.
And we have another polarizing issue that we would love to discuss with you candidates. And let's talk about the National Guard here in the city of New York. Now let's go back to Mr. President Donald Trump. One threat hanging over the city is the deployment of the National Guard troops, like he has done, as you all know, in other cities. The NYPD commissioner has rejected the idea as unnecessary, but the president ordered troops to hit the streets of New York. Now, how would you respond? Mr. Sliwa, you have a minute.
There's no need for the National Guard in New York. Kathy Hochul, the governor, when we had a crime crisis in the subways that I'm well familiar with, being down there all the time, unlike my two adversaries, she sent 750 National Guardsmen down into the subways in 2024. Remember the horrible case of Debrina Kawam. Does anybody even say her name anymore? That woman who was set on fire by that migrant. As a result of that, the worst crime I've ever seen committed in the subway system, the governor did the right thing. She sent an additional 250 National Guardsmen, giving us a total of 1,000 National Guardsmen in the subway system, while our mayor, Eric Adams, was telling us it was all a perception.
Laura Loomer.
So Governor Hochul has responded.
Oh, wow.
I would
She's
tell
trying to get me deported
the
nonstop.
President of the United States, since I'm familiar with cities all across America having Guardian Angels there, if you were going to send the National Guard, you don't need to send them to New York City.
I wasn't wrong.
There are
He
other
did say
cities
the Guardian
that
Angels
could
got
desperately use their help in dealing with their crime crisis.
Thank you, Mr. Sliwa.
We got it.
Mr. Mamdani, how would you respond?
You know, I agree with Police Commissioner Tish in that we do not need the National Guard here in New York City. We do not need them for the purpose of safety, because if it was safety that President Trump was so concerned about, he would send them to the 8 out of 10 states that have the highest levels of crime in this country, but he won't, because they're all run by Republicans. What New Yorkers need is a mayor who can stand up to Donald Trump and actually deliver on that safety. When Donald Trump sent ICE agents on people in Los Angeles, Andrew Cuomo said that New Yorkers need not overreact. That is the furthest answer that New Yorkers are looking for. They are looking for someone who will lead, someone who will say that they will have their back, someone who will actually fight for the people of this city. And that's who I am, because I'm not funded by the same donors that gave us Donald Trump's second term, which isn't something that Andrew Cuomo could say.
Thank you, Mr. Mamdani.
Yeah, first, the answer in the subways is not more National Guard. I put National Guard in the subways also. It's more NYPD is the answer. But the National Guard is not, he's not sending in the National Guard to do any real function. It's control, it's power. Sure. He's trying to say these Democrats don't know how to run these cities, and it's a political gesture by sending in the National Guard. He has said if the Assemblyman is elected, he will take over New York. Forget the National Guard.
But this is
he
not
has
the
said,
question.
I'm going to take the funds.
If they order the troops to come here, what would you do?
Well, I went through this with him. He sent the National Guard to 20 cities when I was governor. You know what city he didn't send them to? New York. Why? Because I said to him, don't you dare, we don't need it, and he backed down, and he will again.
So that proves a good relationship.
Wait a second. The president is going to back down to you, Andrew Cuomo. I know you think you're the toughest guy alive.
Curtis, get his ass, Curtis.
Let me tell you something.
Get his ass, Curtis.
You lost your own primary,
low-key kind of likes Zohran, by the way. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. And you have a difficulty understanding
we're the same age.
what the term no is. You're not going to stand up to Donald Trump.
I agree with Curtis.
More than
You're not going to stand up to Donald Trump. And he can't stand up to Donald Trump.
He's a New Yorker, and so is Zohran.
You negotiate with him. You don't fight with him, because only the people of New York City will lose.
You do have a follow-up. Negotiate.
We have a follow-up.
I'd like to see a show of hands. Are there any circumstances where any of you would allow the NYPD to cooperate with the National Guard if Trump sent them to New York?
9/11.
Show of hands. Yes? No takers. Okay. Moving on. If history is a guide, National Guard troops in the city could trigger protests. And we have questions for each of you about how you would handle that. So, Mr. Sliwa, you have been arrested for protesting migrant housing and for trying to serve Mayor Bill de Blasio with court papers. How would your NYPD handle protests? And would you continue participating in protests as mayor? You have 1 minute.
Well, I have been arrested oftentimes in civil disobedience. That is a great American right. But demonstrations have a time and a place. And it used to be before Bill de Blasio, I know he was your favorite mayor, Zohran Mamdani, that you'd have to get a permit. There's a time period you were in a structured area. You get a sound permit. It could be turned around in a day. If there was going to be civil disobedience, you discussed it with the police department. And obviously, you had an opportunity of expressing your anger or your outrage at whatever it was that motivated you to sit down in the street, to block traffic or block an egress. Now we have rampaging groups that go running through the streets, that enter all kinds of facilities and violate other people's rights. And there's no one who's willing to stop it. When I'm the mayor, there are rules and regulations. Everybody has a right to demonstrate. But you can't violate other people's rights, or you yourself must be arrested.
He's such a funny dude.
And he's saying I'm not going to stand up to Trump.
He's
saying I'm going to stand up.
Remove those face coverings.
He doesn't care about anything.
Why
he's
are you afraid of identifying who you are as a demonstrator? Unless maybe you're an agent provocateur who's sent in here to cause chaos.
Thank you.
You can protest, just not on the subway.
The next question goes to you, Mr. Mamdani. You were arrested for blocking traffic in a pro-Palestinian protest, and you participated in a sit-in at Grand Central. Protesters offered block streets, bridges, and hubs like Grand Central. How much of that would you allow as mayor? And what's your line in having the NYPD arrest protesters? You have a minute.
Protest is a part of what makes this city's history what it is. It is a part of the First Amendment. We deserve to have a mayor who stands up for that First Amendment, especially as we have a president that's looking to shred it at each and every opportunity. And we will continue to have protests in this city, as we should, no matter who is the mayor. And the line will be on the question of breaking the law. What we have today, however, is an attempt to intimidate so many who are looking to use that freedom of expression to share their opinions about the city and the world around them. And to be frank with you, what New Yorkers are looking for is someone who can show leadership in City Hall. Because when they don't see that leadership, that's when so many take to the streets. And if you had a leader like Andrew Cuomo, who was telling people not to overreact when they see ICE agents abducting girls as young as 6 years old to deport them, many New Yorkers will take to the streets. We deserve to have a leader who will actually be following through on the values of the city. That's the leader that I'll be.
Mr. Mandania, just a quick follow-up. If you're elected, would you still participate in protests?
No, if I'm elected, I'll be the mayor, and I'll be leading the city from City Hall.
But no participation in protests, right?
The important thing is to lead from City Hall. That's what I'll be doing.
Okay.
Yeah. If I may respond, because I believe my name was invoked.
A very brief response, and then I have a question for you.
I dealt with ICE. I stood up with ICE. I had a war with ICE here in New York when I was governor. And I stood them down, and they moved out. What the Assemblyman is saying is he doesn't believe in law and order. He believes in defunding the police, disarming the police, disbanding the police. That's who he is.
Cuomo,
abolish jails.
Sorry, I have a question for you. Okay, 15 seconds
very
rebuttal,
quickly.
Mr. Mandani, and then we do just 15 seconds because we have a question for Mr. Cuomo.
Mr. Cuomo lies again and again and again. I am not running to defund the police. I am running to actually work with the police to deliver public safety. Andrew Cuomo says that he has stood up to ICE. He has not said a word about the abductions that are happening right now.
He's referring to a previous comment you made, and we will get back to this. But Mr. Cuomo, a question for you.
It's a comment he made. Is the operative language.
Yes, I understand. I said that. As governor, you put the National Guard on standby during the George Floyd protests. You didn't deploy them. As mayor, talk about how you would balance the right to protest with maintaining order in the streets.
The right to protest is a sacred right. There is no doubt about that. But the law is the law also. And you have New Yorkers now who are afraid in this city. They're afraid of Donald Trump coming. They're afraid of that anarchy. And they're afraid of the anarchy in this city itself. We have to provide public safety that makes New Yorkers feel safe. Demonstration is one thing. Violating the law is something else. Blocking public transit is something else. Stopping students from going to class is something else. Harassment, intimidation, that's a hate crime. That's illegal. Enforce the law. Respect the police. They're not racists, as the Assemblyman calls them. They're not a threat to public safety, as he says.
At this in general.
They're not anti-queer.
It's already too contentious for him, but like
he's also to protect New Yorkers, work with them, fortify them.
Whatever he had.
That's ironic that you say that now.
I'm sorry,
Andrew Cuomo, because when you were governor for 8 years, your parole board released 43 cop killers back into the street. Okay, your father, when he was governor, released none. I knew Mario Cuomo. You know Mario Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo. You raised the top. Don't say you're pro.
Mr. Mamdani, do you want to respond briefly to the comments that Mr. Cuomo raised about things you've said about police? You can do a brief response to that.
I have been clear time and time again that as much as Andrew Cuomo wants to bring up tweets from 2020, which is around the same time that he was sending seniors to their death in nursing homes, I am looking to work with police officers, not to defund the NYPD, looking to ensure that officers can actually do one job
like
when they're signing up to join that department.
Is from 2019.
He was specifically referring to comments you made. We will come back to that, but we're out of time.
Why are you bringing up all the grandparents I killed?
We're moving on. Thank you. Despite record low crime numbers, polls show that crime remains a top concern for New York City voters. The three of you have very different approaches to crime fighting and how to manage the NYPD. We want to get into your plans. So we'll start with this question. It's a two-part question, but it's short. How will you make the city safer?
Funny.
And how will you change the NYPD? You'll have 1 minute. We begin with Mr. Cuomo.
I would add 5,000.
He's really going to win with that one, the Hassan Piker
condemnation.
I think you could run next time. Your
defund the police. They took $1 billion out of the police. The NYPD is now down at one of the lowest levels in modern political history. I would add 5,000 police.
When they Google my name, they're going to find like a bunch of New York Times articles that are positive. So they're not going to be like, what's this guy's deal?
Yeah, and again, and you have to add additional police officers because the attrition rate is so high. Part of that is going to be saying to the NYPD, I respect you. I don't think you're wicked, as the Assemblyman said. I don't think you're corrupt. I don't think you're racist. I value you. I will have your back. I'll be a mayor to work with you. That's how you're going to get the police to apply for the jobs. And then we have to work on the relationship between the community and the police. The police can't police the community. They have to police with the community.
You're up next, Mr. Sliwa.
This is amazing. I'm standing here with my two adversaries, both of whom have threatened to defund the police. You, Andrew Cuomo, during the summer of 2020, you said if you don't reform,
I came as Zohran and a brain-broken older lady brought you up one time.
And you certainly said that, Zohran Mandami.
That's kind of aura.
We need 7,000 police. We only have 32,500.
I create
the problem
fear in
in
the hearts
recruiting
of
police,
elderly
which
New
neither
York
of
ladies.
you are addressing, is that their insurance was stripped from them. The state, you did nothing when you were governor, and here in the city, 2021, the city council and Eric Adams did nothing. They don't have qualified immunity, which you've benefited from, Andrew Cuomo, with the 13 lawsuits filed against you for sexual harassment. Tom DiNapoli says we're paying out $60 million. Why? Because you had your qualified immunity as governor, and yet people have stood by as police have lost their insurance in all civil services. That's why you can't get recruits in, because they're not insured. I will return their qualified immunity because they need to be protected like other civil servants.
That is not New York State. It's New York City on the qualified insurance, on qualified immunity. It's not insurance at all.
You are entitled to free legal counsel, which is what he's referring to.
Yes.
You have spent.
Yes, but it's New York City that has revoke qualified immunity. It's not insurance. It's qualified immunity. It has nothing to do with insurance.
Okay. Well, that protected you in all these lawsuits.
And yes, the lawsuits, because there was a report filed. I said it was political. It turned out to be political, and that's why
all 13 women were lying. Come on, Andrew. All 13 women were lying.
After 5 years.
A state trooper too?
Yes, after 5 years, 5 DAs, 5 years of litigation. I was dropped.
That's why I call it
Mr. Mamdani, how will you make?
In a while.
Okay, Mr. Mamdani, how will you make the city safer, and how will you change the NYPD?
Thank you. This is the concern for so many New Yorkers, and I'm proud to have a comprehensive plan to bring new ideas to this city. If you want more of the same, vote for Andrew Cuomo. If you want an actual approach to lower crime, look at our Department of Community Safety. That is something that has been hailed by experts as addressing so many of the pieces of why New Yorkers are not feeling safe today. We will ensure that no longer are police officers asked to do the job of both policing and responding to the mental health crisis. We will have dedicated teams of mental health outreach workers in the top 100 subway stations with the highest levels of the mental health crisis and homelessness. We will ensure that cops can finally go back to the response times they used to have in 2020, closer to 11 minutes, as opposed to the closer to 16 minutes today, because they won't be asked to respond to the 200,000 mental health calls that are coming in through 911 every year. This is evidence-based. It's been successful elsewhere in the country. It's time we deliver it right here in New York City. It's time for a change.
Thank you, Mr. Mamdani.
Zohran Mandami, we already had it. It was called the Homeless Outreach Unit.
I'm sorry, this is not free for all. We have another question for Mr. Mamdani.
Bill de Blasio funded them by taking $1 billion out of the budget.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Mamdani. We're going to talk about disciplining police officers. The civilian watchdog that investigates police misconduct regularly recommends discipline for cops accused of wrongdoing, but the police commissioner often overrides them. You want to change that policy so that the board has final say. Please explain to viewers in 30 seconds why you believe the police commissioner should no longer have that final say.
What I've said is that I think it's time to remove much of the politics out of the question of accountability. We have the Civilian Complaint Review Board, which, as you said, studies, assesses, and investigates into complaints of abuse and the violation of the law. And oftentimes, those recommendations are then subject to political pressures and not followed through on. I think New Yorkers deserve a system where they know it won't then be assessed once again that there's actually more to the recommendation in the investigation that's being done by the CCRB.
Okay, we're wrapping up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mamdani. Mr. Cuomo, do you believe changes are needed for how officers are disciplined? And are there any powers that you would give up as mayor? You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, I would not remove the police commissioner from the CCRB. I'd leave it with the police commissioner. I think Commissioner Tisch is doing a very good job. I would trust her. The difference between me and the assemblyman is he doesn't like the police. That's why he won't hire more police when everyone else says we need more police. He wants to use social workers on domestic violence calls, which are very dangerous. And he's told you what he thinks. He thinks the police are racist, wicked, corrupt, and a threat to public safety.
Thank you.
Those are his words.
Very quick. Mr. Mamdani, very quick.
Look, Andrew Cuomo is a politician of the past, and all he can speak about are the tweets of the past in 2020. Those are tweets which I have apologized for to New Yorkers and police officers directly, and they are not what I am actually running on. But you're incapable of actually speaking about the platform that we have here, which is one that will keep New Yorkers safe.
Can we just quickly ask you, because I think what some people feel they haven't heard from you, we hear you saying that you don't believe that anymore, and you've apologized. People have not heard you sort of describe the evolution of your thought, how you got from there to here.
You know, growing up in this city, I would think often about safety and justice and the ways in which that relationship has been irrevocably harmed when I learned about the exonerated five, when I learned about Sean Bell, when I learned about Eric Garner, when I learned about Michael Brown. And then in 2020, when I wrote these tweets, learning about the death of George Floyd. And that was a moment where it felt as if the distance between these two ideals had never been further. And in becoming an assembly member and serving and representing more than 100,000 people in Queens, learning that to deliver justice means to also deliver safety. And that means leading a city where you recognize the bravery of the men and women who joined the NYPD and put their lives on the line. It means representing the Muslims who were illegally surveilled in my district and the black and brown New Yorkers who've been victims of police brutality.
So Mr. Sliwa, you've been out there, you've been on the trains, and I would like to know if you believe changes are needed of how officers are disciplined.
Let me just suggest, Zohran, what you've suggested.
Zohran, Curtis.
Zohran.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Appreciate
Let me just suggest what you have proposed with this new police outreach unit will endanger women and children in domestic violence situations. I know I've been involved in so many of them with the Guardian Angels. They will be killed.
I've been involved in many domestic
Number two,
violence.
in dealing with emotionally disturbed
he did a hate crime on camera
that
on
I have
Fox
dealt
News
with
like a
for all
couple
my
years
years as
ago.
a Guardian
On the
Angel.
Sean Hannity show.
You need
They
trained
just beat on a
professional
random
police
American
officers.
of
Yes,
like
you can have mental health workers
Latin
with
American
them,
background.
but that has been
Yeah,
suggested.
they were like, oh,
It
that's
was
just
done
illegal.
before
They
by
beat
the
the shit
homeless
out of him
outreach
on the
unit,
camera
and
on
the
the
guy
Sean
you
Hannity
thought
show.
was the best
And
man
then it
at
came out
de
later that
Blasio
he was just an
disbanded.
American
Mr. Sliwa,
citizen.
thank you. Brief response?
To be very clear, the Department of Community Safety is not about responding to calls of domestic violence. We are speaking about mental health crisis and the homelessness crisis. These are the focuses of the work that they will do.
All right. We have other questions for that a little later in the debate, but we want to just change the pace a little bit, candidates, switching gears to the high cost of living
defended you.
in New York City. To kick us off, we have a few
comment. That was an L, not on a personal level of politics.
New Yorkers wrestle with daily. So we want to know how much you spend a week on
talking to people like
We'll begin with you,
Hassan
Mr. Cuomo.
He did do that.
Depends how many times my daughters come over.
He's running for mayor of New York. He's not going to be like,
listen, New Yorker.
Hassan Piker was
Mr.
based.
Oh, I'd say about $175 with a gallon of milk, now $5 and always rising up. Loaf of bread.
Who do you want him to say?
Simple
Like,
loaf
that
of bread.
comment was
Used to be
awesome. I would like to do that as
Mr.
well. Is that what you
$3
think?
now.
I retract my
The price
retweet
is
of that comment.
Mr. Sliwa,
It's
thank
too
you.
costly.
The brief answer. Thank you. Mr. Mamdani.
I actually agree with Curtis on that. It is too costly. Now that eggs are down to less than $4, though, my average spend every week is about $125, $150.
All right. Do you carry credit card debt or do you pay it off every month? Mr. Mamdani?
Also,
I pay it off
low-key
every
was
month.
Mr. Cuomo was a bullet that he took,
Mr. Sliwa.
I don't have a credit
which
card. I have a
allowed
debit
him
card.
not to condemn Hamas.
And for the record,
Which is so funny.
what is your monthly rent or mortgage,
My
Mr.
9/11
Sliwa?
comment is reprehensible.
About $3,900,
which is the most honest
not,
form of resistance.
subsidized.
Mr. Mamdani, what is your monthly rent or mortgage?
$2,300.
Oh, I
Mr.
should
Cuomo.
stop giving them talking
Yeah,
points.
Hassan should put down his
that a
phone.
poor person's supposed to have. Mine is about $7,800.
Okay.
We are actually getting to
that. We're gonna cover that subject. Sally?
Thank you. We're going to talk a little bit more about the runaway rent in this city. Mr. Mamdani, you're pledging to freeze rent for nearly 1 million rent-stabilized apartments. That really affects less than half of all rentals in the city. What is your plan for those who aren't in stabilized apartments but are struggling to pay the rent? What are you going to do for them?
Well, I'm proud to say that yes, will freeze the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants, and I will also build 200,000 truly affordable homes across the 5 boroughs over the next 10 years to ensure that tenants, whether rent-stabilized or market rate, can actually have more housing such that they are not being priced out of this city. And finally, I'm also going to make it easier for the private sector to build housing in this city, because what we see today is that it's not labor, it's not materials, it's the weight that is often costing so much to actually build the housing we need in this city.
Thank you. And a follow-up for you, Mr. Mamdani. The cost of maintaining a building change year to year for landlords. The Rent Guidelines Board is legally required to consider those costs when deciding whether to freeze rents. So how can you promise a rent freeze today before ever seeing that data next year?
You know, we've seen the data time and again.
It's next year's data.
It's been data that's been overruled by mayors again and again. The last Rent Guidelines Board study showed that profits were up 12% for landlords of those units. And what did they do? They raised the rent, adding to more than 12% under Eric Adams' administration. What I am speaking about is actually reflecting the needs of these New Yorkers and the state of the market today. These are New Yorkers who have a median household income of $60,000. We do not need to be pushing them further out of the city. We need to keep them in their homes.
Aren't you saying in that answer that you are going to prejudge? You will not have seen the data for next year, and you're making a determination based on data you haven't seen?
I've seen the data year after year of the fact that salaries are stagnating,
based
costs are up, New Yorkers can't actually afford their apartments. And I will also take action to actually ensure that the landlords of those buildings can better handle their costs by taking on their insurance, their property taxes, and their water bills.
And you haven't seen next year's data yet, but we're going to go to
I do have a question for you on this subject. You have proposed something that you're calling Zohran's Law. You think that Mr. Mamdani earns too much to live in his rent-stabilized apartment, though I should note that there are no income tests for rent-stabilized apartments. But critics say your plan would force people to pay too much of their income towards the rent. So if you think Mr. Mamdani is gaming the system, what about the other New Yorkers, thousands of them just like him, who earn similar salaries, who are living in similar apartments?
Okay, just to follow up on what Sally was saying, because she's right. This is not a new plan that the Assemblyman is talking about. It's Bill de Blasio's plan. It was called Freeze the Rent.
Oh,
Bill
so
de Blasio says
it's happened before.
The mayor can't say legally he's going to freeze the rent. There's a Rent Guidelines Board. There are certain considerations that have to be looked at. You're right, Sally.
Oh, so it's doable, and it's been done before. Thank you. So it's not communism.
Freeze the rent only postpones the rent, because then you have to have an increase to cover the costs. Otherwise, the building is going to go bankrupt.
No.
And it does nothing for the majority of renters who aren't in these rent-stabilized units. There's nothing for NYCHA. There's nothing for homeowners. There's nothing for people in black, brown communities who are getting priced out. I was the HUD secretary. I built affordable housing all across this nation. I built affordable housing in this city when I was in my 20s. I know how to get it done.
How'd you get that job?
On the rent-stabilized units.
How'd you get that fucking job?
Those are the
in your 20s without any experience.
And we
You're out
should
of time. I'm sorry, Mr.
keep
Cuomo.
them for the
We didn't get an answer
most
to the
rent
question.
burden.
We have to move on. But I have a question for you.
No, sorry, he invoked me for much of that question. Just a very brief response here.
Very brief.
You know, you've heard it from Andrew Cuomo that the number one crisis in this city, the housing crisis, the answer is to evict my wife and I. He thinks you address this crisis by unleashing my landlord's ability to raise my rent. If you think that the problem in this city is that my rent is too low, vote for him. If you know the problem in this city is that your rent is too high, vote for me.
If I understand it,
Sons of millionaires need subsidized housing.
Would not evict Mr. Mamdani.
It would not evict him.
It would apply to people applying for.
Oh my God!
But the tenant advocates.
It would affect. It would evict no one.
This does not
would be
affect
income limitation on rappers.
I have a question for Mrs. Sliwa.
This is like a spat in the schoolyard. Let me suggest.
Mrs. Sliwa, Rosario has a specific question for you on this.
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk about affordability and obviously address that issue.
So you've proposed, Mr. Sliwa, plans that would make a point of talking about the struggle of renters and property owners. Describe your plan to help renters and landlords.
Well, first off, we have 6,000 available apartments that a mayor controls in NYCHA, and they've been empty for years. That you address, number one. Then we talk about senior citizens who are living here. My whole goal is to improve and not to move. I'm concerned about the seniors, especially those that own homes. If they're 65 and make less than $250,000, no property tax, because the property tax is way too high. We need to cut it in half to keep people who are here. And then in terms of rentals, we have affordable housing that can be built in these huge skyscrapers. You see them all throughout Manhattan and in northern Brooklyn and in Long Island City, which we have 25 Empire State Buildings full of commercial space that will never be occupied for office space. We should be converting them into affordable apartments. They're in dense areas. The infrastructure can support it. I'm the only candidate here who's against the city of yes that would destroy residential.
I have to interrupt you because we have a programming moment right now. We're about halfway through the mayoral debate.
Okay.
Channel 4 and Telemundo 47.
So much to talk about here. Holy fuck. Okay, so this is the first half. This is the first half of the debate.
God damn.
Zohran fucking cooked. I mean, he cooked. He did a great job overall. I think there's like some wishy-washy stuff there. It's just like
1991, I was in the streets of Crown Heights with the Guardian Angels for 30 days and 30 nights when the first Democratic Socialist mayor of New York City, that's right, David Dinkins, was a proud member of the Democratic Socialists of America, abandoned the Jews for 3 days. They were left to their own means. And we protected them for 30 days and 30 nights. Then your favorite mayor, Bill de Blasio, in 2019, abandoned the Jews again when they were being attacked in Williamsburg and Borough Park and Crown Heights. And I had to bring the Guardian Angels in for 30 days, 30 nights. Jews don't trust that you are going to be there for them when they are victims of anti-Semitic attacks.
Okay. Brief response, Mr. Mamdani. We have a specific question for you from Rosarina, but Mr. Mamdani, please.
I agree, by the way.
One of the most meaningful experiences I've had over the course of this campaign has been the conversations I've had with Jewish New Yorkers. Jewish New Yorkers who've told me about the door that they've had to lock that they had kept open for 40 years. Jewish New Yorkers who've told me on the M57 about an apartment this